Peace and blessings to the family. It is me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the awesome and amazing LDBC, Lions Den boxing community. Shout out to the Louisiana All-American Sports Network. Shout out to Envision Photography and Video. And shout out to the greatest university in the world, the Southern University, home of the mighty Jaguars. In this particular live stream, I'm going to address the state of Southern University football. I'm about to do a real quick sound check, and then we're gonna get it on and popping. You did. Please stand by for the sound check. All right. Seems like everything is up and running. Let me give you the real description of this show. Tailgate Party, Season 1, Episode 7, Southern Season in Trouble, Boombox Classic Breakdown, and Midseason Recap. In this particular edition of the Tailgate Party, Season 1, Episode 7, we address the state of Southern University football. Southern University enters its second bye week after a tough 38-13 loss to Jackson State in the 2025 Boombox Classic. In this episode of the Tailgate Party, we break down what went wrong, the state of Southern's football program, and what fans can expect for the rest of the season. From coaching decisions to player performances, we analyze it all. Subscribe for weekly HBCU football talk, game recaps, and in-depth analysis in this particular edition of the Tailgate Party. You dig? So that's the real quick breakdown, real quick description. I'm gonna give people a few minutes to get in the building. But like I said before, I plan on being here for a good time, not a long time, you dig? So let's get it going. Let's go. All right. Let's see who we got in the building. You dig? Sonic Boom, C98. Are we going? I don't know what you're talking, but Sonic Boom, C98. But salute to you. Salute to Adrian Crook. He said, I'm not too late. FD, like always. Man, salute to Adrian Cook. My brother Jared 11 Green. Man, salute to my brother. Tomorrow, we're gonna stay about 7 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:15. Another episode of HBCU Fanatics. Some of this stuff I'm talking about tonight we're gonna address, but of course we're gonna address the whole HBCU football landscape, the SWAC, MEAC, SIAC, CIAA. We're gonna hit it all, you dig? He said, everyone, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. That's an excellent point that my brother Jared 11 Green brought up. Basically, I am less than 200 subscribers away. I think at this point I'm like what, a buck, I think like a buck 30. So 130 subscribers away from the 1,000 subscriber mark. So if you have not done so already, like, share, but more importantly, subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed to the channel already. So, let's just get it out the way. First, I'm going to address this past weekend's Boombox Classic. You know, for the most part, I had a quick, immediate post-game reaction. And in addition to that, I had a full post-game reaction, midnight hour power, you dig? And for the most part, I pretty much addressed everything. So I'm going to give you like my condensed version. Of course, in terms of the environment, I'm not going to lie, like traffic around the bluff and on the yard, it was way more congested than it was against Alabama State. When it came to the P. Richardson Classic, Alabama State, we were like literally able to just drive right on campus. We're able to drive right on campus and get wherever we needed to go. And, it kind of is what it is. So when it came to Jackson State, Jackson State, we know they're going to bring a crowd. So we left earlier than usual, even though I only live like about 15 minutes away from campus. Of course, for the most part, lately since my job is closer to where I'm from, I'm mostly at her house. However, I tend to go home on weekends, whatever the case may be. So we left from my house. We got on campus. I think we left like something to 2. We got on campus, something after 2. Traffic was congested. And not only that, but, the parking was difficult in terms of ordinarily you could park somewhere, you don't have to walk as far, but we had to walk pretty far. We needed parking in between the controller's office and Mayberry Dining Hall. And not only that, it was your typical, usual family-friendly environment when you go to HBCU football games. Now, I'm not going to lie, some of the members of Jaguar Nation that I talked to, they say when they go to Jacktown and they go to the Veterans Memorial Stadium in Jackson, they feel like Jackson State fans aren't as hospitable. However, that's not my experience. Like, pretty much anytime I go to SWAC games, they're like festive, family-friendly environment. You have a lot of Southern fans tailgating. You have a lot of Jackson State fans tailgating. I mean, the crowd was it was a much bigger crowd than you have for your normal Southern University football, really outside of homecoming. If you subtract homecoming from the equation, when they played Jackson at A.W. Mumford Stadium, P. Richardson Field, this for the most part the biggest crowd you're gonna get. So it's a family-friendly, festive environment. And I'm not gonna lie, if I had to kind of rate, like, in terms of magnitude, in terms of like crowd and feel and environment, of course, the Bayou Classic is at the top of the mountain. The only thing that I've seen to really surpass the Bayou Classic in terms of like beautiful women, the way they dressed, and environment and buzz and feel was when Southern went to Tiger Lane to play against LSU. However, for the exception of that environment, that was kind of like the Bayou Classic on steroids. The only difference is that Tiger Stadium and there's a mixed crowd, whereas, you go to HBCU event, it's like 95% black people, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, it was kind of like a watered down, lesser version of the Bayou Classic, just to kind of give you an analogy of the feel and the environment. And I'm not gonna lie, even if you compare the Boombox Classic to the P. Richardson Classic, like it was more of a buzz and it was more of a different feeling, different environment for the Boombox Classic as opposed to the P. Richardson Classic. All right, so the game get underway. Southern always defer to the second half. I guess that's a Terrence Graves thing at this point. Uh, Jackson State got the ball. They didn't do much. Southern ended up, kicking off the scoring with a field goal. I think Southern, I think Jackson State had a muff punt. They couldn't advance it, whatever. Southern ended up settling for a field goal. Jackson State responded right back with a touchdown. Southern ended up kicking another field goal. And then just to kind of speed it up, Southern ended up being up off a long Trey Hollis 70-some yard run. Southern ended up being up 13-7. And the real turning point in the game was at the end of the first half. Jackson State is literally backed up in their own end of the field. I think it was on like the -5, the -2, whatever it was. They ended up punting the ball. For whatever reason, Coach Graves and his staff, they decided to go punt block. It was 4th and 5, so it wasn't roughing the kicker. It ended up being running into the kicker. And that kept Jackson State's drive going. I think at some point in the drive, Zach Yassine, defensive tackle, his helmet came off and he kept playing. So it ended up being an unsportsmanlike penalty. In addition to that, Henry Miller, for whatever reason, he decided to play like a soft cover 3, like a prevent type defense with 3 high safeties, 3 linemen rushing. And I don't know why he went to a 3-man front, because Kelvin Givens was really starting to get going and starting to create a lot of pressure and wreak havoc or whatever. The 4-man front was working good. When you had the 3-man front, now you have no pressure. And even though both ends was getting home, all Jacoby and Morgan had to do was step up in the pocket and throw the ball deep. And they ended up giving up a touchdown. And Jackson State was up 17-13 to go into halftime. That pretty much, realistically, it changed the entire complexion of the game. We all know Southern University is not a good second half team. And for the most part, from the start of the second half on forward, it was kind of all downhill. Southern got the ball to start the second half. They went down the field. It was on the plus side of the field. It was 4th and inches, and they couldn't even get it. They tried to run the ball with Trey Holly. He didn't even get back to the line of scrimmage. Then after that, Jackson State went on the score, and Jackson State did not look back from that point forward. It just was kind of all downhill from there. And at the end of the day, like, truthfully speaking, congratulations to Jackson State. I mean, it really kind of shows the difference in the two programs from the perspective of, Southern is nowhere near where they were in their glory years and their heyday. I mean, they've had a tremendous fall from grace. Even though in the last handful of years, Southern has been to the SWAC championship game in a few times. I think a few things I could take away from the game. First and foremost, I'm just keeping it a buck. Jackson State just has a better team than Southern. Point blank, bottom line, period. If I told you anything else, I would be lying to you. That's first of all. Second of all, it also illustrates how much stronger the top of the SWAC East is than the SWAC West. Whoever come out the East is going to be a considerable favor over whoever comes out the West. If I told you anything else, I would be lying to you. I think at this point, if I had to pick, even at the beginning of the season, I picked Southern and Jackson State. The way Southern team is currently constructed, I do not see them doing well the rest of the season. A lot of people are optimistic. At one point, I was cautiously optimistic. I'm not even at this point, just to be honest with you, because Southern University, from a talent standpoint, I'm not gonna lie, like Trey Holly is a beast. Like, from a talent standpoint, I think he's probably the most talented. I'm not saying he's the best, but he's clearly the most talented Southern University running back I've seen, and that includes Jermaine Sharp, Steve Warford, Leonard Tillery, Melvin Williams Jr., Lionel Nicholas, whatever name you want to name. I really think that's kind of where he is from a talent standpoint. He's a elite level talent. But truthfully speaking, really, once you move away from Southern University running backs, as a team holistically, this team is not that good. I think they have a tremendous amount of talent on the offensive side, at the running back position in particular, when you consider they have Trey Holly, who's a beast and an elite level running back. They got Mike Franklin. You got Jason Gabriel. You got Barry Remo. Southern is deep at the running back position. I think they probably have the deepest running back room in the SWAC, probably in all the HBC football, to be honest with you. However, when you look at the offensive line play, their right guard, he got multiple holding penalties. Southern is not a good enough team nor a good enough offense. Realistically, if Southern is going to be successful, the offense is going to have to carry the other two phases of the game because the defense is not what it has been the past few years. And in addition to that, Southern struggles in the special teams phase of the game. Even though the blocking was much better for the field goals, Nathan Zimmer made both of his field goals, which is a good thing. However, when you look at it from a kickoff standpoint, most kickers, they get a running start and they kick the ball off deep. They kick it to about the 5, somewhere between the 5 and in the end zone. Nathan Zimmer takes 2 steps and kicks the ball. He kicks like a sky kick. Some instances, especially if Southern gets a penalty like they did on a couple kickoffs, like the opposing team is going to get the ball somewhere between the 35 and 50. Your defense is not good enough to give up that much field position. So you give up a lot of field position in terms of your kickoff game. At times, Kenny Lee Pham has left a lot to be desired as a punter. But lately, he's been doing decent. He ain't been lighting the world on fire. I'll be lying to you if I told you he's lighting the world on fire. But from a punting standpoint, he's been better than he's been. But Southern does not have any elite level kick nor punt returner. The coverage teams are average to mediocre at times. So your punting game is at times mediocre and decent at best. Your kickoff game is average at best, sometimes even downright mediocre. There was a couple kickoffs where Jackson State ended up starting to drive it like right at midfield. Southern's defense is not good enough for you to give up that much field position. Then, you move to the defense itself. Realistically, I'm going to just kind of just be brutally honest and just completely blunt. Minus Kelby Givens and Mike Jones and Vincent Page Jr., Southern defense is mediocre at this point. The defensive line is trash, minus Kelby Givens. You have Kelby Givens, in my opinion, and 3 substitute defensive linemen. Even Zach Yassine, he's supposed to be a senior. This dude is out there doing stupid stuff, like getting his helmet knocked off. And even without a helmet, he's trying to go full throttle and get you a unsportsmanlike penalty, which ended up resulting in 15 yards, which eventually led to Jackson State scoring a touchdown, off of busted coverage when, Henry Miller trying to go cover 3. So, your defensive line is trash. Your secondary gave up a lot of big plays. Part of it is blown coverage, and part of it is, I'm not going to even lie, the secondary, even with a healthy Horatio Johnson at times, Eli West, Herman Bristol III, Traylon James, just the entire secondary at times is a little pedestrian and mediocre at times. So, you don't really generate a whole lot of pressure at times up front. And even when you do get a pass rush, like defensive backs giving up plays on the back end. And more than anything, the penalties. Jackson State had 13 penalties for 111 yards. Southern had 13 penalties for 108 yards. So practically from a penalty standpoint, things are even. But Jackson State has a good enough team to overcome that, whereas Southern doesn't. Now, for the most part, that's the recap of the game itself. But in terms of the state of Southern University football, it's in a real bad state at this point. It's real bad. You know what I'm saying? So let's just kind of, look at it from a big picture standpoint. First of all, like I said, if Southern is going to have success, it's going to have to start with the offensive side of the ball. But the issue is The quarterback position, even with Austin Strider, like I'm sorry, Ashton Strider. Ashton Strider is an upgrade from Cameron McCoy, but the problem is, uh, he made plays, but in the second half, he didn't make enough plays to keep Jackson State's defense honest. For the most part, they were just loading up to stop. It was loading up to stop the run. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, he made plays in the first half, not so many in the second half. The offense struggles to move the ball in the second half, and the problem is your defense is not as good as it once was. Your defense gave up a lot of big plays in the passing game. They gave up a lot of rushing yards. Jackson State had like 74, 75 plays for over 500 yards with the offense. So the issue is, first of all, Southern is not a good second half team to begin with. And second of all, your offense struggles in the second half and your defense is bad. So your defense stays out on the field for extended periods of time in the second half. The opposing team is just able to run the ball on your throat and, just eat up clock. Time of possession is greatly in their favor. And as a result, your defenses end up staying out on the field way too long. And not only that, I just want y'all to know, like, I appreciate all of the people that rock with me, that subscribe to the channel, especially all my day one subscribers and just all my subscribers just in general. I appreciate y'all to the fullest. And one thing I want y'all to know, like, I read, like, literally every single comment. For the most part, I respond to every single comment. Even if I don't respond, I'm going to, like, put a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a reply, whatever. And I read the comments. And first of all, I just want to point this out. Like, a lot of people lately, they recognize me at the game. Probably going back a couple of years now. At least 2 people recognize me at every home game. You know what I'm saying? And, truthfully speaking, just like I made this analogy on, like, Saturday night, Sunday morning, in terms of my post-game reaction. A lot of people were like, man, Coach, why you always got to be negative? Woo. And for the most part, Southern University fans kind of fit in the 3 categories. One, the extreme right is people are extremely optimistic and kind of always give the program the benefit of the doubt. I'm not that guy. I'm going to call it for what it is. And when they hear my post-game reaction or my commentary or my comments, they feel like I'm being like a negative Nancy or Debbie Downer. I'm not. I'm just being brutally honest and being truthful. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have people that are, like, extremely pessimistic and like, hey, we need to boycott. We need to sit out. Even if I don't like the product on the field, I'm never going to boycott. I'm going to always rock with them. Even if Southern Gold only win 1 game, hey, I'm still riding, you dig? No matter what. I'm loyal. Even when it comes to people, the teams I support, some instances I'm loyal to a fault. And I'm all, if I rock with you, I rock with you. Point blank, bottom line, period. I'm a diehard member of Jaguar Nation. I'm a Jag for life. Ain't nothing gonna change that, you know what I'm saying? However, most of Southern University fan base is in the middle. And truthfully speaking, I had like 3 people tell me before I went to A.W. Mumford Stadium, Peterson Field, a few people like, man, Coach, we appreciate you. Just like I used that Kevin Samuels analogy on Saturday, when people are like, hey, people quoting you. No, when I give these post-game reactions, when I give my commentary, when I break down things from my perspective, I'm literally the voice of Jaguar Nation. You understand what I'm saying? So my thoughts, what I see on the field, my point of view, my perspective of the state of Southern University football, for the most part, this is what the fans see. This is what Jaguar Nation sees. So when I say, hey, man, it's time for Terrence Graves to get out of here, we need to pack him up, ship him out of here, I'm going to probably say 80% of the fan base feels the exact same way I feel. The product on the field is terrible. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, it is what it is. At the end of the day, like, some people might say, hey, Coach Ron Banks is doing a good job. We need to keep him. He might be doing a good job raising money with, the Gill on the Bluff and these fundraisers and things of that nature. But in terms of your overall sports program, it's not where it's been for one, and definitely not from a football perspective. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, like, it is what it is. And like I said, I'm gonna address a couple other things too during this live stream. Uh, Adrian Cook said, "Ain't no Boombox Classic. It's BR. That's a bang thing. It's just a game, no classic, money involved." Adrian Cook, when I was talking about the cover three, he was saying that's a peak defense. Adrian Cook said, "I definitely don't agree. I watched the QB playing with speed, with a sped up clock for no reason." Well, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think at this point, I think Jalen Woods is clearly the better option at quarterback. I mean, he'll upgrade over Cameron McCoy, but at the end of the day, like, he's not lighting the world on fire. It's not like he's a prime, like Bryant Lee, Trey Joseph, or Austin Howard, or Quincy Reshard. He's not none of those guys. In fact, I wouldn't even say he a Thomas Ricks or Terrence Levy or Sam George. He's not. I'm not going to even lie. Not just Southern University quarterbacks, but the SWAT quarterbacks just in general. I mean, don't get me wrong. I ain't gonna lie. Jacoby Morgan had a hellified game. Props to him. He had the game of his life against Southern, but unfortunately, it had to be against Southern. But realistically, I mean, he an upgrade. But at this point, clearly, Jalen Woods is the best option at quarterback. I think he's better than Ashton Strotter. I don't think there's a ridiculous gap between the two of them, in my opinion. But he clearly the best. Jalen Woods is clearly the best quarterback option at this point. But the problem is, I'm not saying he's injury prone, but my issue is I don't want him to end up like J.C. Lewis. And for non-Southern University fans, the best analogy is I don't want him to end up like Tua with all these concussions. Now, for those that don't know, J.C. Lewis was a starting Southern University quarterback back in the gap. I mean, he had two hellified receivers in terms of James Vernon and Gerard Landry. For those individuals that don't know, Gerard Landry is Jarvis Landry, who played for the Browns and the Dolphins and the Saints. That's his older brother. Of course, Jarvis Landry went to LSU. Gerard is the older brother that went to Southern. Gerard Landry was a beast. He was a big, strong, physical, 6'2", 210-pound wide receiver. You couldn't play press coverage on him. You couldn't play off him. You had to kind of play no man's land. A lot of teams play a lot of bracket coverage on him, especially once James Vernon filled off the team. Then all of those touches went to James Vernon. I mean, all those touches went to Gerard Landry. And for the most part, teams, since there wasn't James Vernon on the other side, the speed guy, teams just pretty much trying to take away Jarvis Landry. But the point I'm trying to make is J.C. Lewis, I talked to somebody actually played with J.C. Lewis, and for the most part, they said he was extremely talented. The problem was the offensive line was trash. Man, that boy got a lot of concussions. He got beat up a lot. And I don't want Jalen Woods to end up like J.C. Lewis. For my non-Southern University fans, to end up like Tua is now with the Dolphins in terms of all the concussions. You know what I'm saying? Adrian Crook said JSU wasn't getting home for Ashton to speed up in his own head. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Jackson State's defense is good. I'm not gonna lie. If I say anything else, I'll be lying. I guess in his mind, he couldn't find an open receiver. And that's one thing I want y'all to know. Like I said, I read all the comments. Somebody was saying in the comment section that he just kept looking for the big plays, the plays that wasn't open. Kept looking for the home run ball. Like I said, he made some good plays in the first half. But in the second half, he really didn't do much of nothing. And in addition to that, he didn't do enough to keep the defense honest. And for the most part, they pretty much just were trying to take away the run. Adrian Cook said, LOL. He said that was by design. They was afraid of Travis breaking one. I would love if he would kick that out the end zone. No, that's my point. I mean, if you don't want Travis Terrell Jr. to make a house call, then you kick the ball out the back of the end zone. You know what I'm saying? But my issue with that, Adrian Cook, is, yeah, I know they was trying to keep the ball away from Cool. But Nathan Zimmer been doing this the whole season, though, Adrian Cook. It ain't just in the Jackson State game. He did it against North Carolina Central. He did it against Alabama State. So I'm like, damn, how many good punt and kick returners is Southern playing against for you to try avoid kicking the ball deep? Man, honestly, Adrian Crook, I just don't think he had that kind of leg strength. That's my personal opinion when it comes to kicking the ball off. Because the taking 2 steps and just kicking the sky, kicking, booting it, he done that not just against Jackson State. He's done that the entire season. You know what I'm saying? Adrian Crook wouldn't say that Miller gave up the middle of the field. Well, from what I understand, it was a blown coverage. Somebody was pointing this out in the comment section. They say basically when a defensive backs passed the wide receiver, I don't know if it was Savage or Fortillion, whoever it was, like they passed him off to the safety, and he just ran by the safety, and Jacoby Morgan just hit him, hit him in stride. So that's how they gave up the touchdown. You know what I'm saying? Stone 750. Salute to you. He said Holly won't be at Southern after this losing season. Well, I'm not gonna lie. Even if Southern went undefeated and won a Black National Championship, he wasn't gonna be at Southern next year, regardless. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like he gonna leave Southern just because Southern having a bad season. I mean, this was always a year for him to put some good footage out there and for him to transfer to PWI Power 5, especially whenever his case is resolved and he gets cleared of the charges or whatever the case may be. He is out. So this was always an audition season for him anyway. After, all these long runs he done had, he done had 70-some yard run, he done 80-yard run, or another 7, or whatever it was. I'm not gonna lie, Stone 750. Like, he gonna get a bag in the transfer portal. So there's an NIL bag with Trey Holly's name written all over it. Just like you see, like Tulane quarterback transferring to, like the University of Kentucky and getting millions. Well, I'm not saying he gonna get millions like, some of these other players, because in the transfer portal, just like in the NFL, certain positions are highly valued, like quarterback, left tackle, pass rusher, defensive back. Since we live in such a pass-happy era, because I'm not gonna lie, even doing commentary for the Louisiana All-American Sports Network, like I see high school teams who clearly does not have spread personnel. They don't have spread personnel. They should run some type of running system where they line up in the eye and try to run the ball, jam the ball down your throat, or run some type of, I don't know, flex bone or some type of run base offense. Even those teams trying to line up in the spread and just run the ball or whatever. So even with that being said, the point I'm trying to make, the quarterback position, the left tackle position, defensive back, pass rusher, those positions are overvalued. But when you got somebody, the talent of Trey Holly, he got an NIL bag waiting for him as soon as he hit the transfer portal. So he wasn't going to stay at Southern. This was always an audition season, you know what I'm saying? Adrian Crook says Stone is Stone. Trey Holly getting picked up no matter where he plays, LOL. That's the point I was trying to make. He going to hit the portal when the season over, and he going to get a bag. Stone 750. He said whoever pick him up, yeah, he going to get a bag. Nathaniel Frank said, Coach, I was wrong. I said Southern by 2. Well, I say Southern by 1, and I'm not going to lie, just to kind of give you my state of Southern University football is in a terrible state. Like, Southern University football program is far removed away from its glory days and its glory years. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think the rest of the season, and I'm an optimistic, see the glass half full as opposed to half empty kind of guy. The rest of the season for Southern University is it's the fan base and as a football program is in bad shape, Nathaniel Frank. I'm not gonna even lie. I don't see Southern winning the SWAC West. I'll probably see Southern at best maybe breaking 500 the rest of the way, and they clearly gonna have a losing season. And that's why you got the fan base that just highly agitated Terrence Graves, because let me just kind of just keep it a buck. First of all, if you look at Jackson State's roster, TC Taylor, man, salute to my brother Jay Good. He texted me early. He pointed some of this stuff out. TC Taylor was talking about, in terms of being a championship team, you have to have depth, this, that, and the third. First of all, Terrence Graves, from a strategy standpoint, from an X and O standpoint, he trashes a head coach. I hate to speak ill of people, but I'm going to just keep it a buck. He trashes a head coach, point blank, bottom line, period. In terms of, his former play caller, his buddy, Mark Frederick, play calling, clock management, game management, decision making. All of these are skills that a good head coach needs to have. Terrence Graves have none of those things. Some guys are just good position coaches. Other guys are good coordinators. You can even see that in the NFL. Like, Dennis Allen is a good defensive coordinator. He's a trash head coach for both the Raiders and for the Saints. So certain guys are position coaches. Other guys are coordinators. Terrence Graves at best, he might be a decent position coach. He wasn't even a good defensive coordinator, to be honest with you. So that leaves a lot to be desired. From a talent standpoint, like I say, all of Southern best talent is at the running back position. I don't lie, even if you take Trey Holly out the equation, Trey Holly ups Southern University running back room significantly. But I think even if he wasn't in the equation, I think Mike Franklin and Barry Remo and Jason Gabriel and Amari Nasbury, I think these guys are talented players or whatever. And I think you still got talented running backs, but your offensive line is nowhere near, offensive lines of the past. Guys like Kendrick Baptiste and Nivens, and man, I could go just down the list. Jeremiah Black, Dallas Black, Jeremiah Stafford. Like, Southern, from an offensive line standpoint, is nowhere near what they've been in the past. Your right guard kept getting beat. He kept holding and getting all these holding penalties. From a schematic standpoint, I don't know why at certain points they would line both Dupree Fuller and Jermaine Minor Jr. up to the same side. I don't know why you didn't keep unbalancing that side like you were and just running that direction in terms of helping him out with the tackle or the guard. I'm sorry, the tackle or the center or whoever. I don't know why they wasn't helping him out, but he kept getting beat. Like I see, your defensive line, it looks like Kelby Givens and 3 substitute defensive linemen. Your secondary is not good. From a talent standpoint, Southern does not have nowhere near the talent they've had in the past. And not only they don't have no depth, because some of these guys, I'm beyond with you, the backups that Southern have, even some of the starters wouldn't have made the team back in the 90s. And these backups, the starters aren't good, and some of the backups aren't even playable. So at the end of the day, from a talent standpoint, the roster, it leaves a lot to be desired. So whenever you decide you're going to move on from Terrence Graves, first of all, you need a good head coach. In addition to having a good head coach, you got to have somebody that can really go out there and recruit. Because not only from a recruit standpoint, somebody that could recruit, somebody that could evaluate talent, and in addition to someone being able to evaluate talent, you got to have a staff that can groom and develop the talent. Because clearly right now, Southern, they're not doing a good job evaluating talent. They're not doing a good job grooming and developing talent. And I'm not going to lie, this is a mediocre team at best. If they're going to have success. First of all, another thing, too, somebody pointed out in a comment section. Like, Southern, the reason why they struggle in the second half, they're not a well-conditioned team. Because even early, in the second half, you can kind of see hands on hips, especially on the defensive side of the ball, when Jackson State is kind of just ramming the ball down your throat and your defense just living out on the field. Southern is not a good team from a strength conditioning standpoint. So whenever Southern brings in the next head coach, you got to have a good head coach. You got to have a good coaching staff, not all these recycled coaches from the SWAC. You got to be able to evaluate talent. You got to be able to groom and develop talent. You got to have an excellent offensive line coach. You got to have an excellent strength conditioning coach. Because, in the past, we done talked about Zeus. And for the most part, I'm not going to lie, I get mixed reviews on him as a strength conditioning coach. May he rest in peace. But I'm not going to lie, for the most part, I mean, some people felt like from a strength conditioning standpoint, Southern had a lot of injuries with him as a strength conditioning coach. They feel like he was overhyped. He wasn't as good as people said he was. But for the most part, most people I talked to felt like when Zeus was a strength conditioning coach, Southern was from a strength conditioning standpoint, Southern was a good team. They clearly not at this point from a strength conditioning standpoint. They don't have no stamina, and you really had no off-season program. Because I remember, now, with all these transfer portal guys just showing up in August, guys not in shape, guys not ready to play. I remember when I was going to Southern, I had classes with Nemesis Bates and Michael Hayes. I remember having a summer school class with Michael Hayes, and he had heat stroke one day, and he passed out during summer conditioning. So the point I'm trying to make is, from a strength conditioning standpoint, Southern University is nowhere near what it used to be. You know what I'm saying? Adrian Crook say Stoney, nobody picked him up. He wasn't playing for a couple of years. He just showed up to practice one day to try out. Yeah, and that's what it was. He was at LSU, and they have a policy that you can't have guys on your team that have pending charges. And he has a few charges pending against him, felony charges in terms of attempted murder. He's from Union Parish, and he had to sit out all of last season. He played in 4 games as a true freshman at LSU. Then he got redshirted his sophomore year. He didn't want to sit out another year in a row, so he came and he walked on in Southern because Southern doesn't have the same policy that LSU has in terms of being able to play with pending felony charges. So that's why he can't walk on in Southern. So Stone 756, as you should, bro. Stone 756. Too many flip-flop ninjas on the fan side of the game. Stoney, he said, only reason Graves didn't get fired was because y'all lucked up and made it to the chip. Y'all should have let McNair take the reins. Well, honestly, Stone 750, I feel like he should take the reins now. I mean, you got a bye week right now. If it was me, I'll get rid of Graves. Unfortunately, the issue is you got the remnants and the stench of Eric Dooley all over this team because, for the exception of McNair, maybe like one other assistant, pretty much the entire coaching staff is an Eric Dooley coaching staff. So that's the huge issue you have, you know what I'm saying? Adrian Cook said, LOL, you holding on to the first half of the Classic in 24. That doesn't have nothing to do with the one this season. Adrian Cook said, and man, we was hitting with our helmets. We all had concussions. Oh, yeah, big facts. Adrian Cook said, starting 2050K saves us money for the next coach. Banks told y'all and the board that y'all just have horrible listening skills. Adrian Crook said, I know because special teams asked Olo, oh yeah, it's definitely trash. And he said, yeah, he weak as I don't know what. Stony Stone 750 said, LOL, JSU defense is good, LOL. Adrian Crook said, all night, LOL. Adrian Crook said, why he passed him off was in the area. Yeah, I mean, in that scenario, I would have felt better if you had a 4-man rush and you played cover 2-man under. That's my personal opinion, but I still feel like it was stupid coverage from a coverage standpoint. You know what I'm saying? And Adrian Crook said, why not stay underneath the route? Yeah, that's my point. I prefer even if you I ain't gonna say cover 1. I say even if you'd have went 4-man rush, you go cover 2 man under. That'd have been cool with me, but either way, you're giving up a big play at the end of the first half. It pretty much changed the complexion of the game. It gave Jackson State momentum, and Jackson State never looked back after that. Stone 750 that Southern Glass got a hella big crack in it. Yeah, unfortunately. Adrian Crook said, LOL. Says who, LOL? Adrian Crook said, LOL. Graves taught Miller everything he knows. That's true. Adrian Crook said, who is Zeus? Former strength conditioning coach from back in the gap. Stone 750 said, sent Graves to JSU. We need a grill cook. in the cafeteria. If you talk about Mayberry Dining Hall, Adrian Crook said he was a bodybuilding guy. All right. Adrian Crook said, look good. I worked out with Gail Hatch. All right. Merlin A said it killed our spirit. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like it, and that's one thing I could say, like the last, including this time, the last few times Jackson came to AW, even when Shador came, like they in that game when Shador was starting quarterback and Deion was the head coach, they didn't take the lead till 1 minute 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And Jackson State fans in that game, they never felt like they was gonna lose to Southern, and it's kind of felt that way the last 3 times Jackson came to AW. It kind of shows you, you know, the state of their fan base. They have confidence that they're gonna win. Southern fans used to have that same confidence in the program, but unfortunately, it's not like that at this point. And that's the thing about it. Even I'm talking about these games, and a lot of these bigger games, whether we talking about in the past when Southern played against FAMU, when they had Willie Simmons, uh, and truthfully speaking, in none of those games Southern was able to get up by 2 scores. And that's the thing about it. Even if you look at the SWAC championship game and in this season in the Boombox Classic against Jackson State, and none of them games Southern was up by 2. And even if Southern was able to get up by 2, like Southern is a bad second half team. So at the end of the day, when it comes to, talent and depth and coaching, like Southern has too many holes and too many deficiencies, you know what I'm saying? Just to kind of, and salute to my brother Jay Good, just to kind of give you some insight on the conversation we had, you know what I'm saying? He sent me a couple text messages earlier. He sent me this post from that somebody posted TC Taylor. And he was saying from base philosophy, the more he see like Southern on film, position by position, not only does Southern have coaching issues from a X and O standpoint, but he was like this era of Southern University in terms of they don't have an eye for talent. They have a lot of questionable players. And he was saying even some of the questionable starters they have, like when it comes to depth, like it's a drastic step down in terms of gap between the starters and the backup. So he was saying the eye for talent, like it's not gonna be productive in the SWAC on Saturdays. You know what I'm saying? And he don't count like the lower tier SWAC teams in terms of like Valley and UAPB. He was like these guys, they're not even serviceable players at this point. He was saying, and basically the board of directors is going to have to make some serious decisions. You know what I'm saying? He said the way they conduct business, the way they put together the staff, this good old boy network from hey, he my partner. I want him to be my offensive coordinator, bull crap. You know what I'm saying? The fan base is going to tune out. And I'm telling you, mark my words, after homecoming against Prairie View, them last couple games of Southern going to be a ghost town. You know what I'm saying? So he was saying at this point, like, the program needs a factory reset. Whether Southern goes to like a celebrity coach, like maybe like a Marshall Falk type, or whether they go to the D2 ranks and bring them a proven coach up from the Division II ranks of the CIAA or whatever. Like Southern gonna have to make a real decision in terms of getting them a good head coach. Get them a good head. First of all, I'm not gonna lie, I really think you need to start with Roman Banks as the athletic director. I think you need to get you a good athletic director. You need to get you a good head coach. You need to get you a good recruiting coordinator, a good strength conditioning coach, and a good offensive line coach. These are things that you really need. In addition to that, I mean, you just need an excellent coaching staff just in general, and you definitely need a good special teams coordinator too. Like, these are all issues that Southern has. You know what I mean? He said, and basically he was saying from his, salute to Jay Good again, from a gut feeling standpoint, he feel like Bethune-Cookman, Prairie View, and FAM, all of those games are kind of like you know, he really don't see them games as winnable games. Basically, he was like the product he's seen on the field. He don't feel like from a talent standpoint they can get the job done. He said basically the remaining games, like the rest of the games are pretty much 50-50. He don't see it right now. The quarterback position is sketchy. We don't know what the health status of Jalen Woods. Ashton Strada he looked good at times, but wasn't good enough. Way too many holes, issues in the team in terms of the roster. You know what I'm saying? And he was saying the problem is during this Jackson era currently, like this is one of the worst Southern eras in terms of talent, depth, coaching, the whole nine just across the board. You know what I'm saying? He was saying the only thing he could see they're gonna save Southern is recruit. From a recruit standpoint in the offseason, is Southern has to go out and get a coach that's gonna bring in the players, and players gonna be like, hey, I want to go play for this guy. I want to go play for this coach. If Southern don't get that, basically the program's still gonna be in limbo. You know what I'm saying? And basically, if you instead of just keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result, and basically, like Stevie Wonder could see that Southern University football program is in shambles. Like I said, even if I was optimistic, I'm just being truthful and honest. Like the program is in a bad condition, is in bad shape, and basically, like the building's on fire. You just need to take some gasoline, some diesel, whatever you're gonna use, and just keep adding and just burn it down and just have a factory reset. Because I'm not gonna even lie, even if you had a healthy Jalen Woods for the rest of the season, and even if you had Fred McNair as your interim head coach the rest of the season, from a roster construction standpoint, there's too many holes in this roster. You got a lot of questionable starters. Your backup's not even serviceable. You have no depth. You have an elite level running back in Trey Holly, but just from top to bottom, this roster is not good. It's not a good team. It's a trash coaching staff. And like I said, I hate to sound like a Debbie Downer, but I'm just keeping it a buck. You know what I'm saying? Like Southern needs to just do something. You know what I'm saying? Adrian Cook said we're about to hire Willie Simmons. I mean, I don't know. I don't see him coming back down to the SWAC unless he get fired. I mean, I don't know. Adrian Cook said, yeah, we do. Who told him that he plays after this bye week? You know what I'm saying? He said, yeah, we do. We told him that he plays after this bye week. So at the end of the day, I mean, I think he's the best option at quarterback at this point because Strada not that guy. Cameron McCoy not that guy. Dylan Compton is a true freshman, so you don't want to throw him out there to and just feed him to the slaughter. But I'm not gonna lie, I hate to say it. I'm gonna just be honest. I just hope Jalen Woods can stay healthy the rest of the season. No more nicks, no more injuries, definitely no more concussion. But even at this point, I hate to say it, I'll move Dylan Compton over Cameron McCoy and Ashton Strada at this point. Because if Woods have more injuries and he can't stay healthy, like if you lose another game, like this season over. You know what I'm saying? And all right, even best case scenario. We just gonna say best case scenario. Just say Southern run the table the rest of the way, which I really don't see. I really don't see that happening. But if you're able to beat Bethune and beat Prairie View and Texas Southern and UAPB, if you're able to run the table and you go to a SWAC championship game, you're just gonna get blasted the way you got blasted Saturday night. So at the end of the day, I think it's just time for the program to move in a different direction. Terrence Graves is not that guy. This coaching staff is mediocre. It's average at best. So at the end of the day, like this entire situation, like is a diehard member of Jaguar Nation. It's hard to watch. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't pull the trigger on getting rid of Graves. But I think if you lose to Bethune, you definitely gotta You got to get rid of this dude because it's going to be packed and it's going to be crowded on campus and in A.W. Mumford Stadium for homecoming. But the last couple games, like, you're going to be able to have a few games going on in that simultaneously because the east side going to be empty, the west side going to be empty. And, I mean, the fan base is just not content with the product. You know what I'm saying? And Adrian Crook said I was trolling with the really high. All right. But I'm not going to lie, though, Adrian Crook, they need a coach on that level. Either than Willie Simmons, even if it's not Trey Oliver, even if it's not Chennis Berry, like you need, and they need a guy that's gonna come in and be like a Pete Richardson quality coach. And even if you can't, get a guy that caliber, either you go one or two directions. More than likely, you probably not gonna go the celebrity coach route. So even if you don't go the celebrity coach route and hire a guy like Marshall Faulk or whoever, if you bring up a guy from a D2 program, man, hey, bro, you need to get you the best. Basically, you need to get the best coach you could possibly get because the situation that they're in, man, it's a terrible situation. Adrian Crook said he should have cleaned house. Yeah, big facts. And he said if you're going to be a CEO coach, the only one took on the challenge was the O-line coach. And that's the thing about it. I talk about the CEO coach route. Like, you have to have an elite level program, and you have to have elite coaches to be like that Jimmy Johnson CEO coach. The reason why Jimmy Johnson was able to be that CEO coach when he was the head coach of the Miami Hurricanes and when he was the head coach of Dallas Cowboys, especially when he was with the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, he had the best position coach at each position and the best coordinators. Even though some of these guys didn't go on to be great head coaches, guys like Dave Wannstedt, these guys were like great coordinators. So you have to have elite level coaches to be the CEO type coach in terms of, I'm gonna be the CEO of the organization. I'm just gonna oversee everything. I'm not gonna micromanage. I'm not gonna be hands-on. You gotta have elite level coaches. You can't have a trash offensive coordinator like Mark Frederick is your offensive coordinator and be hands-off. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, like the whole I'm the CEO of my team, it's not a good look when you have a roster that's mediocre to average at best. When you have like garbage coaches like Mark Frederick, you can't be that hands off, I'm gonna be the CEO of the organization type of guy. If you're gonna be that Jimmy Johnson type head coach, you gotta have elite level coaches like Dave Wannstedt. You gotta have the best position coach at each position. You gotta have a elite level recruit coordinator, offensive line coach, special teams coordinator. You gotta have the best of the best coordinators and the best of the best from a talent standpoint. Like, you don't have none of those things for him to be as hands off as he is. They have such a mediocre roster. They have such a mediocre coaching staff. Man, it is what it is. Merlin A said, I'll take a white coach and a staff from Montana or one of the Dakotas. LOL. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be honest with you. For those individuals, I know you saying it as a joke, but I'm gonna just keep it a buck. To me, when it comes to HBCU football, that's why I can stand when Alcorn State had the white coach and they was winning SWAC championship. Hey, I ain't for hiring no SWAC. I ain't for hiring, and it ain't me being a racist. It's just me being real. Because even if you look at the NFL, that's why they got the Rooney Rule in place. Look at college football in terms of PWI programs. You're only going to have so many black quarterbacks in the NFL. You're only going to have so many black head coaches in the NFL. You're only going to have so many black head coaches across college football outside of HBCU realm. Man, I'm not cool with hiring a white head coach. I'm not cool with having a white quarterback. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm cool with having white offensive linemen. I'm cool with having white defensive linemen. I'm cool with having white punters and kickers. But head coach and quarterback, those are the two positions that's off limit to me when it comes up having a white head coach. You know what I'm saying? Man, salute to the brother Joseph David. uh, Adrian Crook say, Marlon, he said, now you're thinking in the right direction. We got to pay them. All right. Adrian Crook said, everybody knows what we paid duty. Yep. Joseph Davis said, SU needs to increase the athletic budget to hire better football assistant coaches. Otherwise, a good head coach won't be as effective. That's an excellent point, Joseph Davis. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing about it. You know, paying your assistant coaches like 50 bands a year, all right, that ain't gonna cut it in 2025. Especially when you got the especially when you got a transfer portal in NIL. Even if you got an elite level recruiting coordinator and you're able to evaluate talent and you're able to groom and develop talent. With the current landscape of college football, you're going to lose players due to the transfer portal and NIL money regardless. So, you know, these are things that need to be taken into consideration. But you're right. He said, otherwise, a good head coach won't be effective. Adrian Crook said David Mark was getting paid $90K. He said, David, that's the most team staff. LOL. Yeah, and that's the thing about it. You got to realize, like, the SWAC don't have the kind of money at their disposal to pay coaches that a lot of these PWIs have. And I'm not even talking about Power 5, FBS, PWIs. I'm talking about some of the just PWIs just in general, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, that's it for this particular live stream. You know, it's like 10:17. You know, I got to get up in the morning. I'm an administrator now, so it ain't like me being a PE teacher in Milwaukee, just coast, you know, especially when I didn't have football practice, basketball practice the next day. But, man, I appreciate everybody that came through that showed some love. Salute to Adrian Crook, Stony Stone 750. Salute to Merlin A. Salute to you. Salute to Joseph David. Salute to my brother Jared 11 Green. I appreciate everybody that came through that showed some love, you know what I'm saying? Adrian Cook said we paying Graves $250K to save money. That's what TC getting paid. Merlin A said, congrats, coach. Joseph Davis said, Adrian Cook, how do SU assistant coaches' salaries line up with those at other SWAC MEAC schools? Man, salute to the brother Desmond Allen. He said, go Jag, sorry I missed the show dog. Nah, we just wrapping it up, but you can always catch me at playback. Desmond Allen, no worries, you know what I'm saying? But I appreciate, you know, everybody that came through, Desmond Allen, Joseph David, Merlin A., Adrian Crook, Stony Stone, Stony Stone 750. I appreciate everybody that came through. I'm definitely gonna be dropping more content in terms of, you know, footage from this past Saturday's game in terms of band type stuff, you know, so on and so forth. And in addition to that, tomorrow night, somewhere between 7 o'clock and 8:15, come over to my brother Jared 11 Green channel, HBCU Fanatics. You know, we're gonna talk about the Boombox Classic. We're gonna talk about basically everything in terms of HBCU football, SIAC, CIAA, SWAC, MEAC. We're gonna talk about all of it. One other thing too, I feel to mention. You know, I've been going to Southern University games for over 40 years. We've been sitting on the east side since about 88. I'm sorry, about 89, 90. And I pointed this out in the post-game reaction in terms of the live stream. Man, look, the Human Jukebox need to play at least one song every game on the field towards the east side. Because, man, I've been sitting on the east side since 90. Bro, there's no way everything should be catered to the west side in terms of, you know, the field show. And I know a couple people ask, man, coach, why you got JS Shoe Band? Why you got the Sonic Boom in the South clip, you know, from the halftime show? Because God dog, they played their whole halftime show to the east side Whereas we can't even get one song for the fans on the east side, and we see the season ticket holders, and we go to every game religiously too. So at the end of the day, like, man, hey, bro, Human Jukebox need to tighten up and need to play at least one game. I mean, one song every halftime show towards the east side. That's just my personal opinion, because we ride with Jaguar Nation too, not just the fans on the west side. You know what I'm saying? Uh, and Adrian Crook said we paying more than the other teams in the SWAC and me at. Desmond Allen said all Southern needs to do is hire a good D2 head coach. Yeah, I kind of talked about that. Some fans believe we should go the celebrity coach route and hire somebody like Marshall Falk. And people like Desmond Allen believe we should go down to D2 ranks, whether it's a SIAC, CIAA coach that has a great program and a winning record. That type of guy, you know what I'm saying? And Joseph Davis said Adrian Cook, that's scary if true. Adrian Cook said Mark and Fred getting paid, and Miller, y'all paying like we pay position coaches. All right. And Adrian Cook said David is horrible. Yeah. But like I said, that's it for this live stream. If you have not done so already, please like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. I'm less than 150 subscribers away from the 1,000 subscriber mark. So if you're not done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Also, come over to my brother Jared Loving Green channel tomorrow. Another edition of HBCU Fanatics. We're going to pop it off. Come through, check us out. Man, I appreciate everybody that's going to watch it on playback. Everybody that's in the chat for the live stream. I'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace and blessings to everybody. Y'all have a blessed, phenomenal evening. And go Jags. You did.